Hello, everybody. This is August, and the NFL season is right on top of us. But before we get there, me and Simon Short are doing offensive lineman rankings. And basically, we took each position: left tackle, left guard, center, right tackle, right guard, and we came up with our top five. We didn't always agree, and that's fine. But we're sure excited that you're a part of it here tonight. This is the Box Score Network. Simon, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm awesome, Ben. Thank you so much for putting this together and getting these beautiful graphics together for us and coming back because we're both old, we both have children, and I had my calendar wrong last night. So you were waiting around to talk offensive line basically since last night. You haven't left your little cave there. And now I'm finally here, ready to go, ready to keep this rolling. I was watching a little Drew Dahlman film again just before this because what else
Yes.
do we do on a Saturday night? And I'm ready to go, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I did sit here for 24 hours straight. And during that time, I decided that seeing our faces once wasn't enough. So I put it on here twice, okay? So they can see our beautiful profiles and our straight on views as well.
As long as you didn't put my face on that graphic and then like do a mock podcast episode where you were trying to talk in my voice and predict what I was gonna say. Um, if you start doing that, man, we got to be done. We do this too much together.
All right, everybody watching, thank you so much for hopping on. We'll quit fooling around. We'll hop straight into what y'all came for. Center.
Mm.
I'm going to start. We'll leave out the honorable mentions here because those are my number two and number five guys. They're your honorable mentions. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start with your number five, who only got honorable mention from me, Elton Jenkins from the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, baby. Now let me ask you a question here before I give you my thoughts on Jenkins. Did you really even consider him for your center rankings, or now that it's kind of really his first official year being Green Bay center from training camp on, did you kind of just leave him off the consideration, or is he baked into your center rankings when you were really putting this together?
Yeah, I kind of already knew he wasn't going to make top five, but I just have such a healthy respect for him as an offensive lineman. I knew he had to be in the mix, so I did include him in consideration, but I already kind of knew he just wasn't going to make that top five cut for me.
Jenkins has been one of my favorite guys, going back to when we,
Yeah.
first started doing this together a few years ago. I love the positional versatility. Like, don't forget, look, 4 years ago, they had this man playing tackle a bunch. I was like, I would watch him like, this Jenkins guy, he's not a very good tackle. And it's like, well, he played center in college and he really plays guard. I was like, oh, well, he's pretty good at tackle then. That's cool. He's going back to center this year for Green Bay for the first time in his NFL career from a full-time standpoint, but just quick hands, strong anchor, like another one of those just stout interior guys that does not get beat. And he can still move and make contact at the second level, even as he gets a little bit older. Um, so I like, again, just like, can I get a big mean dude in the middle, as much as I can, as opposed to some of your guys down there at the bottom. And I was excited for Jenkins to play center. I'm excited to see what it looks like for Green Bay.
Jenkins was a guy, and again, he came in about seventh for me, not ninth or tenth, somewhere around seventh is where I ended up placing him. But if I have him at center, I feel like I'm fine for a couple of seasons. I'm not looking to replace him. I'm not feeling resentful about having him there. He's very good. I like that. I just didn't have him talent wise any higher than that. So that's where we had him. Number four, you and I agree on. By the way, this was the biggest difference in guys that we didn't have in. So I got my five, and only three of them are yours, and you got your five, and only three of them are mine. So this was the had the biggest leftover group here. But we did agree on number four, Zach Frazier, our guy, baby. This is our guy.
I also love the yellow helmet you got in there. Nice job by you.
Yes, yes.
Uh, yeah, Zach Frazier, just another really solid high floor player coming out of college. High IQ, strong, good anchor, good push. Can get to the second level and be a little more effective than I thought he could be as an NFL player coming out of college. Obviously, just 1 year in the NFL for him so far, but I think he already proved to be just really consistent and really, really steady, as a second round pick for Pittsburgh there. Um, I think he might be better than a guy I have a spot or two higher.
Yeah.
But just the 1 year aspect, for Frazier here, I want to see what he looks like. with a guy like Aaron Rodgers behind him who might put a little bit more pressure on him, or we'll see how that goes. But Zach Frazier, I think, just a really good overall player, really high floor player for Pittsburgh.
That's that you put it all fantastically. Now, I was so huge on Frazier coming out of the draft. Not to ever be an all pro or Hall of Fame or nothing like that. He may catch a couple of Pro Bowls at some point if he keeps on developing. That you're right. That's exactly the kind of player he is. But because I was so high on him coming out of the draft, and because I saw it already, I was like, heck yeah, he's getting in the top five, baby. Unless I just got to leave him out, which I didn't. The other guys I was okay leaving out of the top five. I thought center honestly kind of ran out of your elite level guys real fast. I mean,
Yep.
it's a lot of plug and play guys who usually will be on the plus side of the ledger, but not always. They're gonna have their weeks where they struggle a little bit too. But I love being able to put Zach Frazier in there at center, hopefully for the next 8 to 10 years. I mean, that's what I would love to see.
To your point at the position as a whole, and it's probably why it's the biggest discrepancy of our five,
Yes,
is I
yes,
think I have the most C pluses at center that I do at any position. It's just a lot of like, okay, yeah, that's effective. And I think teams have just
right,
figured out how to protect a guy who's not that talented. They want the high IQ guy more than the high talent or athleticism guy necessarily. They'll let the other
yeah,
guys handle that. They just want a guy who's going to call the protections, be smart, move a little bit in either direction, have good snaps. You don't always quite need the top tier guy, but man, if you can get him, it makes a huge difference.
it does. Yeah, I listen. I'll never put center at the back end of the list for guys I want to be good, but I don't. They don't have to be Hall of Fame level for me. That's also not a requirement. They need to be They need to be on the plus side and smart and have a certain amount of anchor ability. Yeah, this center is the one spot where I do need them to anchor down.
Oh yeah.
I'm not everywhere, but I really need my center to be able to anchor down, for the most part. Your three, my two, Tyler Linderbaum, Ravens.
Yeah, Linderbaum, just the Frazier clone from the year before, basically. I think a little bit of a better mover, and good at the second level. He was that already coming in. Strong anchor in hands, and just that extra year of experience. I think he and Frazier are very similar players. I think Frazier's maybe a little more stout. I think Linderbaum maybe a little bit of a better mover, but I think both guys were ones that had some questions coming out of college, but were both very clearly high floor centers. And I think very clearly even better pros right away than anybody expected. So it's cool to have those guys both in the AFC North and kind of battle it out. I know a lot of Steelers fans wanted Linderbaum, especially coming out of Iowa there with the black and gold already. But Linderbaum just another very good player.
You're right about Linderbaum tending to be more of the quicker mover kind of a guy. Frazier being a little bit more the anchor down kind of guy. I love Linderbaum coming out of the draft. I I was a little, but I just loved his ceiling. I had more questions about Linderbaum
Hmm.
actually hitting than I did Frazier. I really felt great about Frazier hitting, even though I don't think he's got the ceiling that Linderbaum's got.
Yeah.
Linderbaum is hitting the ceiling, and I don't know that he'll ever be the true dominant number one, but he's hitting that ceiling that I was hoping he would, and I just absolutely love his work there. I did worry a little bit about him being in the North Division. I was like, dang it, of all
Hmm.
divisions for him to end up in, that might be the one that would give him the most trouble. But by and large, it's just not been the case. He's done very well there for Baltimore.
Yeah, and despite I just went and double checked their measurables. Like Zach Frazier isn't the biggest guy, but he's almost 6'3", over 310 pounds. This is all coming into the draft. Arm length 32 and a quarter. And then Linderbaum 6'2", under 300, 31 and 1/8 inch arms. So very bottom percentile measurements for Linderbaum, but we knew the skill
Right.
set was there. So that's where that higher ceiling, lower floor came from. But I think both are just going to end up being very, very good players moving forward.
Your number two, who I left off, he's in my honorable mention. So this will be fun to talk about, is also for the Eagles, who are well represented tonight. That's not the last Eagle we'll see tonight either.
No, no.
um, Cam Jurgens.
Let me tell you, folks, Cam Jurgens will put a person in the dirt. That's for sure. And when I see that, and you can do that as a guy that again came out as a smaller and lighter center. It's why he works for Philly. Um, I love that. It's why when Kelsey decided to stick around for that extra year, they didn't bother to make Jurgens wait for another year. They said, we'll just play him at guard, even though he's the smallest guard we've ever put next to Jason Kelsey. And just from a talent perspective, we can't leave him off. And it never really set him back. But I think at center he's even better because of that movement ability. He can handle nose tackles one on one in pass pro or in the run game. He's got a good anchor. Um, but he does and compared to Frazier and Linderbaum, he has a little more pop to him. So even though he's also a little bit small, I think he's just
Yep.
stronger and a little bit more physical and
Yes.
aggressive than those guys. And here's a theme, everybody. He has been coached by Jeff Stoutland. He did play next to Kelsey and Lane Johnson for a long time. He did play behind Kelsey. He did play between Dickerson and a Mekhi Becton this year. So well covered up and definitely helped out a lot in that capacity. But I also just think physically he's just got a little more oomph to him than those guys do, which is why he goes a little bit ahead. He's basically in the same tier. I gave them all the same grade, but I think he's just got a little bit more pop.
I'll get back to Cam here in just a second. Let's talk about Jeff Stoutland because I've been dancing around it all night. Jeff Stoutland belongs in the Hall of Fame already. And Jeff Stoutland should have a statue of him right outside of the Philadelphia Eagles stadium. I mean, this guy is tremendous. My gosh. You talk about, I'm not sure outside of the general manager, there's a bigger single reason why the Eagles have continued to be so good, even though they've swapped out a lot of things between that first
Coaches,
Super Bowl
quarterbacks.
appearance and 2 and 3. I mean, that's been the mainstay. So I love Jeff Stoutland. So do you. So does our buddy Shane, who we'll talk about later in this episode. Just Stoutland cannot get enough praise from me personally.
Yeah, no doubt.
Cam Jurgens, and I mean this in a good way. He's the guy who I most think of if we were to go back to the 1930s, and the guy that's out working the fields, the farms, and he's not only plowing, using the oxen to plow, he'll just hook up the darn plow and plow the field himself. He's that freaking strong. I mean, yes, you totally mentioned it. You're totally all over the Cam thing here. I'm not sure talent wise. I've got him with quite a few of these other offensive linemen, but he's got enough of the talent. He belongs out here. But in addition to the talent level that he does have, he's just got that brute strength, which continued, and I probably underassessed it. It's continued to allow the Eagles, and listen, I know how much, strength that Jalen Hurts has in those legs. It's not a quarterback that's moving those piles. Okay,
Hmm.
it was Kelsey, and now it's Jurgens, and the quarterback is adding to that. That's the super bonus, right? It's the center doing that work. Okay, and Jurgens doing that. I have so much respect for that. I absolutely love him. I didn't put him. I didn't even put him in my top five. Okay, because of talent level, right? But my gosh, he was a tough leave off. Geez, that strength is just brutal. And boy, he absolutely deserves to be out here every bit. So that's Cam Jurgens. My number one, your number one. We had a few number ones that we did agree on here. Creed Humphrey, Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, there's not a lot that has to be said, man. I mean, just, he has everything. He's so strong. He's so fast in
Yes,
space. He's quick off the ball. He's technically sound with his hand and feet being played together off of each other. Good anchor and really good push in the run. I mean, he literally has everything. This was my second first real ever draft crush. It was literally Dickerson and Humphrey getting drafted the year Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro retire, them both going just a few picks or one pick in Creed's case after the Steelers made selections. And it just broke my heart from a very early point in my like real true NFL nerddom. So it was good to get used to, I guess. Creed's just the man. There's not a whole lot that needs to be said. He's the best at everything at the position, I think.
I was a Josh Myers guy who you now like, I think, better than I do,
I
ironically
think I
enough.
like Josh Myers more than anybody in the NFL at this point, or related to the NFL. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. I'm a huge Josh Myers guy. I guess he was six on my list, but I'm just kidding. He wasn't six on my list, but
We haven't even gotten to some of the guys that you and I have kind of reversed positions on through the years a little bit, not a lot, a little bit. and we might not even talk about that. But I was a Josh Myers guy at draft time, and I thought he was the guy that needed to go late first round. Humphrey, I was fine with, but I was like, not thrilled. By the end of year one, certainly by the middle way through year two, it's like, no, this guy's going to be the best for a very long time, and he might be pushing Hall of Fame status by the time he's done. So Creed Humphrey reminds me of if you were going to go out to the bowling alley and you were going to kind of engineer a bowling ball that would go left, right, up, down, in, out, and then crash all the pins every time, it would be Creed Humphrey. So Creed Humphrey looks like a bowling ball with arms to me when he plays. All right, and you mentioned all he can do, but that's just what it reminds me of. He can hunker down. He can anchor down. He can show the strength. He's good at helping both sides. Um, he can move to second and third level. I mean, he's very fluid. There's nothing to not like about Creed Humphrey. And I just missed it when he was at Oklahoma. Again, I liked him. I was totally fine with him being drafted in the second round, but I just didn't see. If I didn't know he was going to be this good, I would have went and grabbed him top 20 and been done with that position for a decade. But that's all there is needs to be said about Creed Humphrey. I think, unless you have more on Creed.
Just we've been talking about all these little centers, and you're going to talk about one or two more here in a minute. Creed Humphrey is 6'4", which is 82nd percentile among all offensive line
Yeah.
among centers, specifically. But he also is 82nd percentile in the 40-yard dash, 95th percentile in the 10-yard split, 91st
Hmm.
percentile in vertical jump, 93rd in the broad jump. Just an insane athlete and huge and technically sound. Just Mm, does it does not get much better.
Yeah, if you're a draft guy, if you're a draft analytics guy, which we are to an extent, if you're a draft analytics guy and you love combine numbers, that's your guy right here. This is your poster boy, Creed Humphrey. Maybe I should have paid more attention to that coming through because I did like him. But to me, he doesn't look like he plays tall. When I watch him, he plays low. And I think that's one reason I don't ever think of him that way. He doesn't play tall. I've seen guys, like Orlando Brown, who I've tagged a lot over the years, just playing high. I'm like, man, I don't like that. He doesn't play high. He plays low. So,
hmm
you know,
hmm
love him. Automatic
Josh
number
Myers
one for
was
me.
6'5", 310. Maybe that's why I liked him.
Yeah. So, all right. My number two on the list, who you left out, Eric McCoy of the Saints. This is a guy, I'm going to go ahead and talk about him for a second. This is a guy that for the first year and a half, I didn't care about. I was like, I don't see it, man. I'm just not seeing it. And everybody was like, no, wait, no, wait, it's coming. Simon even was like, no, wait.
This was one of the guys we flipped on.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, come, I lose track of years and everything, but come what, late second, early third year, I was like, okay, I see it now. Here he comes. He's finally clicked. And then at the start of last year, before he got hurt, I was like, oh my gosh, he
Yeah.
is nailing this.
hmm
I'm watching him because I get all the most of the NFC South games in my region. I'm getting to watch him every week, and I was like, wow. And then when he got hurt, and I saw the Saints offense, take a nosedive, I was like, my goodness, this guy's really doing a lot. So he's my number two. You didn't get him in. There's reasons for that, but that's Eric McCoy of the Saints.
Yeah, I still like McCoy. I gave him a B, so he was right there on kind of on the bubble for me. Um, Still a decent anchor and really good recovery, really high awareness, high IQ player. And he can still get to the second level. Like you said, that's what the Saints offense was
Yeah,
built on last year for those first 2, 3 weeks. It was him and Cesar Ruiz, another guy that's a big one of mine. Um,
yeah.
just getting out in space and making things happen. So hope he's healthy again. Hope he can get back to that. But yeah, McCoy was a guy I liked for a long time, just didn't quite make the list for me here this year.
My number five, your honorable mention, so not a big difference there, is Drew Dahlman of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Dolman's not really my cup of tea necessarily. Now, I will say I mentioned earlier that I watched a little bit more of him again, and I think I probably just had this idea of him, and he's not the stoutest guy. He's not a Frazier. He's a little bit more like a Linderbaum, but one that plays in that zone blocking scheme. And so when you're a center and you're under 300 pounds and you're just kind of running outside to side more, I kind of turn it off at that point. But listen, when I went back and watched, I gave him a B. I think he's strong and aggressive for his size. The few reps that he is just trying to anchor down or maybe just steal a big nose tackle out of the way, he does a really good job of that. He's good on, but he is good on the move. He is light and quick on his feet. One hang up I had when watching is he can get for as fast as he is, he's not the quickest off the ball. So you can cut across his face pretty quick if you want to, and kind of get after him because he's a little bit lighter. But man, he's just pretty solid. And like I said, strong and aggressive for that size. So that combination of being quick and fast, but also pretty aggressive. That'll also serve Caleb Williams well. You don't want that pocket to collapse early though, which is why you put him next to a Tooney. But I think this is a good player, and the Bears will be happy to have him.
Depending on what offense I run, I have no problem plugging Cam Jurgens in here, a slot or two ahead of Dahlman. Dahlman, too, you mentioned it, was a guy that I kind of always mentally have just checked off. And I think that's because his first year or two just was not, anything,
Hmm.
and I just wasn't impressed. But when I went back and watched the tape, I was like, man, he's a lot better than I had in my head.
Yeah.
I just like his work a lot better than I thought I did. And, for the Chicago Bears to have wanted him, because I kind of looked at that during the offseason like, that's not thrilling to me, especially, it's fine. They've upgraded. That's important. But the more tape I watched, it's like, wow, yeah, okay. And now that I see him working for the Bears here, I think they're really going to use that ability. You're right in everything you said about him. All right. There are flaws in his game. I don't think he would ever be a top 2 or 3 center. But boy, with this offense, I think he's going to do very well. I think it'll use his skill sets better. And then again, I got into the fact of, hey, the center position just kind of runs out real quick on the elite guys. That's why we have a Zach Frazier here at number 4. We've got a Jenkins sitting at 5. We've got Mike Dahlman as my number 5. I liked him. And the one kicker for me was, boy, he's younger than I remembered him being. Like
Hmm.
he's still
Hmm.
heading into year 5. And I think mentally I just checked him off as didn't love it, see you in a few years, you're a backup kind of a thing. Now I feel like he's a lot better than that. So again, is he an automatic top 5 lock? No, it depends on what kind of offense you're running. You really need him to be in the right kind of offense, but I think he's there in Chicago.
Yeah, I'll be really interested in what Ben Johnson does, and maybe that was part of it for me, where you go from a Frank Ragnow, who's that 6'5", 310 pound mauler, and then
Yeah.
Drew Dahlman is going to be like, I'm a little confused about what they're going to do. And the reason why we think Dahlman is older than he is because he just kind of slid in that Matt Hennessy spot, who was playing center for the
Right.
Falcons there for what, 1, 2, 3 years. So they've just been cycling these centers. It was 3 years of Hennessy, it was 3 years of Dahlman, and now we got Ryan Newsel. Ryan Newsel is just a name I want to say, who actually, again, a little better than I thought he would be. But yeah, they're just mixing in these, okay, who's 6'3", who's less than 300 pounds, who can move a little bit. They're just cycling those guys through.
I will say Dahlman is not a guy I expect to be around Chicago for 5 to 8 seasons. He's a guy that they're going to bring in right away. I feel like to do a lot of movement stuff up front, which Detroit did a lot of. He's kind of the cheaper version of that. I say cheaper; they had to bring him in on some money, but he's kind of I feel like he's the guy they're going to just put in there for the next couple of seasons as Ben Johnson gets everything else fixed the way he wants it. Then they'll revisit this here in a couple of years and get in the bigger guy who also got the movement, who they would really want to build around. But I think this is just what they had this year that they liked. I do feel like they're going to have more movement this year on that offense.